Greetings, everyone. This is Rock and Roll Spot Connection with the Weekly Comic Book Roundup. We've covered this week's X-Men books and Spider-Man books and a couple others too. Now it's time for this week's Avengers books. Kicking things off, we've got Avengers number 63. So, where we left off in Avengers Assemble Alpha, the Avengers of the present met the Avengers of 1 million BC. And as tends to happen when two groups of heroes meet each other for the first time, they fought. Yeah. And then, well, the multiversal Masters of Evil showed up. And they kind of already obliterated Starbrand. But basically seeing their true enemy before them, the Avengers assembled to take him on. The Berserker, Phoenix's Berserker went after them. However, the Ghost Rider of the past melted the Berserker completely. And the battle was joined. Odin of the past seemed to gain a little bit of respect for Valkyrie Jane. Brandy, the Starbrand, now aged to having used the Starbrand up to end up at an elderly age, goes to the Starbrand to thank it for helping. I'm kind of getting the feeling that maybe we're going to be seeing her be rejuvenated by the prehistoric Starbrand. But Doom lets loose a Ghost Goblin is killed by the prehistoric Ghost Rider. Doom lets loose a mystical plague to wipe out the prehistoric men of Earth. And prehistoric Ghost Rider, while Valkyrie's trying to individually save everyone, the prehistoric Ghost Rider burns so hot the plague is destroyed. Cap goes after the Dark Phoenix. There's a crackle of thunder, and in space, the Phoenix heads back to Earth. The prehistoric Phoenix. Oh boy. Thor's got some issues already with the Phoenix because of the prehistoric Phoenix's relationship with his father. This is definitely going to make things interesting. Moving on to our next book, we've got Captain America Sentinel of Liberty number 7. Where we left off, Bucky shot the Revolution and became the New Revolution, a member of the Outer Circle. In shooting and killing the Revolution, however, Bucky fired through Steve. He's also informed Peggy Carter, Bucky that is, of the existence of the Inner Circle and the fact that though she may not know it, she's always been a part of it, or at least one of their agents. So he's not coming after her. He's trying to bring the whole thing down after all. So Cap is brooding while healing from his gunshot wound when Namor comes to him. Apparently Cap dropped his shield as well, but Namor has brought it back to return it to him. Cap informs Namor what's been going on, and But Namor kind of points out that, you know, Bucky's always been a killer, even before becoming the Winter Soldier. Basically doing the things that Cap couldn't do. But Steve's just not. Life's just kind of. He's just feeling kind of bland. He's just kind of. He seems like he's just kind of going through the motions. The original Destroyer talks to him about getting a new looking for a new security system, and surprisingly, something like that you'd think that some advanced ideas and mechanics would pop up, but nothing did. Steve goes to Bucky's apartment and finds a sliver of a crystal that the earlier destroyer, the destroyer that attempted to attack the 4th of July parade in the first issue, is going to use to power his weapon. The crystal shard is at Bucky's apartment. That's all that's there. Walking home, after waiting in the hope that maybe Bucky might show up, Steve heads home and runs into Sharon Carter, who's been following him. They spend the night together. Steve tells Sharon what's happened, and basically helps bring him out of the funk he's been in, and also contacts a handful of people to see who could help, as does Cap, meeting in an old underground bunker. Surprisingly, everyone shows up. The World War II era destroyer, Nick Fury, Black Widow, Peggy Carter, and Hawkeye even. With Hawkeye kind of saying, hey, this isn't going to be an Avengers thing, because, he's kind of with the Thunderbolts, and could be a conflict of interest situation. But Cap explains the situation to everyone there, and Redacted adds to it. But it's pointed out that, Hawkeye adds that with Thunderbolts have been patrolling the launch site from Arm Zol's rocket from the first issue, or from Captain America number 0. They've also been pulling stuff out. Cap blacks out briefly and wakes up in a field, talking to a young boy. When he asks when it is, and the kid says it's the best day of the week. It's Friday. The issue ends pulling back on New York under what appears to be an energy dome with AIM on the side, and that is where the issue ends. I kind of said that already, but yeah. Well, things certainly got interesting there. I mean, it's kind of been. Both Cap books have been interesting from the start, but Moving on to our next book, we've got Captain Marvel number 44, part 2 of Revenge of the Brood. Where we left off, Rogue, Spider-Woman, and Hazmat, along with X-Men Polaris, Psylocke, Wolverine, Lord Kitty, and Gambit, went into space to enter a distress signal that was sent to Carol from Rogue. Upon getting there, however, it turned out Rogue had been taken by the Brood and changed. So, They're also hoping to find Binary, Carol's sister-ish, twin, whatever. But they formulated a plan. They are still, the X-Men and Carol are still trying to formulate a plan that stops that Rogue is able to survive at least. Though even and Remy understands that it's not gonna, that might not be possible. But Rogue tosses Wolverine through the hull of the ship, though Polaris saves her and pulls her back in with a force field, and also puts everyone in a force field. They formulate a plan to at least escape, pull it off, and once again, the plan has to be revamped. So they're going after Binary, who's currently close by. They arrive on the planet and find, a ton of brood, which they wade through, and afterwards they attend a Shi'ar party, big celebration for having defeated the brood. Toasts are made, and flirtations are had. Rogue and Gambit are reunited. Of course, it all turns out to be just a simulation being pumped into them as they're all imprisoned within the brood hive. And that is where the issue ends. I'm really digging this, and I think in a couple months, after Dark Web wraps up, I believe, Revenge of the Brood will continue as well. I mean, it's going to continue in Captain Marvel over between now and then, but it will turn into a crossover between Captain Marvel and X-Men. I think X-Men just get one crossover issue with it, but yeah, we'll see. Moving on to our next book, we have Thanos, Death Notes. Now you might be wondering, why is a book focusing on Thanos with the Avengers stuff? Well, it was going to be in the last video, but after I read it, I realized it should be with this video, as it does lead directly into the following book we've got. So this is a series of short stories. Our bookend story is by the new Thor writer, and Andrew DeVito. Anyway, Thor's on Titan. He's investigating what he saw in the Black Winter, wanting to make sure if Thanos is actually dead or not. Turns out that on Titan, in Mentor's old residence, Mentor kept notes on all of his son's actions. Well, apparently at one point Thanos got in there and wrote a memoir of sorts. That said, Thor knows that someone's ransacked the files, taken some of them as well. And so, our next story, All That Is by Christopher Cantwell, focuses on Iron Man after one of Thanos' early appearances. Drax, the Destroyer, requested assistance from Iron Man in fighting Thanos. Turned out, however, it wasn't Thanos, it was actually a robot, which Tony took and had been trying to figure out how it works. But as a warning, basically, stating that basically just kind of saying, yeah, this, Thanos will eventually become the ruler of all that is. Future, present, past, all of it. This has already come to pass. And this is just part of a simulation. And and by destroying the robot, Iron Man is shown to resist, and therefore he'll be put through insane physical and psychic torture. As we see various other heroes and villains are, such as the Punisher, Gambit, Rocket Raccoon, Jubilee, Quasar, MODOK, Bullseye, Psylocke, Cable, various others. I tried to look as close as I could, but yeah. And so, Tony decides that, yeah, he's not going to destroy the robot. But he's not going to leave it in one piece either. And he's going to keep the whole thing to himself. Next up, we have the Love and Death and Much in Between. Thanos is summoned to the Tower of Death to speak with Death. We learn that basically Thanos was considered, as a child, to be a deviant. And then he met a young girl. He met a fellow girl Titan about his age. She didn't see the monster in him. He was happy. But her family was not. Most of them felt there was nothing they could really do about it, though, but some disagreed, and Thanos had always been preoccupied with the overpopulation. He intended to take a ship out and survey nearby worlds for suitable plans for colonization. Some of his lady friend's family, however, sabotaged his ship. Shortly after it got out of range of a quick pickup, the sabotage came to fruition. The ship crashed. It would take too long for rescue crews to get to them, at least if they were to just stick to each having one oxygen supply apiece. And so, Thanos is given his by his lady friend as she, Corella, as she goes into a corner of the ship and goes to sleep. He further pledges himself to death, and but Corella's spirit realizes that he learned the wrong thing from her sacrifice. And finally, our last tale, the bar at the end of the line. Thanos walks into a bar. No, this isn't a joke. He's looking for Nebula. However, the bartender explains that they have a strict policy there of not divulging the whereabouts of patrons, past or present. Thanos attempts to continue to intimidate the guy. Kind of saying, I've been dead, I've come back. And he's about to ask again when apparently an entire army of locations are outside. They want Thanos. So, Thanos is out to meet them. An army 3 times the size of any force locations put together to conquer any single planet. All for Thanos. He wades through them. No gauntlet either. And once again, asks where Nebula is. Thor continues to dig through the in the last half of the bookend. Turns out there's a file Bor. Thor asks Thanos or asks Odin about this, but Odin doesn't know and is just as surprised, explaining that Bor was not a trusting man. Who knows what secrets he took to his grave. Upon leaving, Thor encounters Mistress Death, gives him cryptic hints about what's to come, and Thor leaves. And that is where the issue ends. An interesting collection of tales. And now, our final book for the moment, we've got Thor, number 29. Remember how I said Thanos' Death Notes leads right into the next book? Well, this starts off the new story, The Legacy of Thanos. Outside in Little Asgard, Broxton, Oklahoma, Lausa, the infant sister of Thor, is taken by Corvus Glaive. Go to Niflheim. Thor has maps, and well, but the portion of Niflheim it seems that she is there are no maps for her, nothing written of it. There's one person who might know about it. Runa, who's on a date in Cleveland. Technically first date. It's a so far 4-day long first date, but Runa and her new girlfriend are enjoying each other's company. However, Thor has come asking as a ride. And the Desir, whom Runa gained control of during the Jane Foster and the Mighty Thor miniseries, well, they were basically trying to make sure no one disturbed Runa. But Thor informs Runa what's going on, shows her the map, and Runa says, gives her advice, which is to burn the map and forget about it. Of course, then Thor explains that, my sister, she's somewhere in this region. Runa's tune changes, so the two of them arrive in Niflheim, and apparently it was the site of an epic battle. A massive weapon was detonated, wiping out all of Bor's army, and it was detonated in a volcano, which never stopped erupting. Once Thor and Runa passed the barrier, they find a field of long frozen dead bodies, with Runa explaining that the Valkyrie quickly learned that they couldn't stay there for long. That's why the field is filled with dead bodies. Some of the Valkyrie who did try to, some were lost, never heard from again. Others came back changed. But there's a voice, and shadows attack Thor and Runa. Thor uses some lightning to dispel the shadows, and they continue on. Elsewhere in this region, Corvus and Lausa are looking through a mirror. Lausa sees, potentially speaking, the woman she wants to be, perhaps the woman she will be. Corvus Glaive sees himself triumphant and a god, wearing a black gauntlet on one of his hands. But Thor and Runa continue on until they're met by the most surprising of people, Thor's grandfather, Bor. And that is where the issue ends. Kicking things off strongly. I gotta say, I have to admire the restraint that Marvel's showing. We have a new writer on Thor, and we don't have a new Thor #1. be still in my heart. Anyway, that is going to do it for now. As always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Links to my Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, and PayPal found in the description box down below. This is Rock and Roll Spock signing off saying, live long and rock hard.